Hi everyone, it's Neve Celtic Mist, and this is part 3. This is not going to be very long because I don't have that many left. But like I mentioned before in my part 2 video, Mercury is in retrograde and everything's kind of bananas. So, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. I would love it if other people actually jump in and talk about the decks that people have inspired them to get, because I think it's kind of cool to know that. And I think we should give a little kudos and credit to people who are putting out this content for our community. It's so important, and believe me, I have a lot more decks on my wish list that are inspired by a lot more YouTube creators in our community, and once I purchase them, I'll probably have to do an update. There are lots of people that I watch, and I just love their videos, and they have given so much of themselves that I really do. This is my heartfelt shout out to all of them. And yeah, so if I get some more decks, if it has to say if, I did get a couple over the weekend. One I mentioned in my part 2 video, and I'll be showing the other one in this video because it was inspired by someone that's very new to creating content, like me, and I'd like to give her a shout out as well. And I might as well start off with her. I found her from Maddie. Maddie had mentioned her on, she did a her channel she did like 13 witchy tips, or not tips, like kind of questions, kind of like a get to know who you are, kind of answering about your witchy practice. And I saw Maddie do his response, and then I went to her channel and saw the questions, and I decided to do a tag, and I did one. And I'm talking of Whispers of Three, and I actually watched her videos that the other videos that she had done, and she was actually talking about I think it was a response to Simon's tag, what was your first tarot deck, and she mentioned this deck as being her first. I'm like I said, I live under, sometimes I think in far as tarot, I live under a rock, and the Aquarian Tarot has been on my list for a long time, but it's one that I go back and forth with. This deck is actually one from that same creator, and this the deck that she showed, and I just got this the past weekend, so I haven't had a lot. I've like cleansed this deck, and but I haven't really worked with it a lot. I did pull a card yesterday, and it's the new Palladini Tarot. It's a US Games deck. Whispers of Three showed it, like I said, in her video on her first tarot deck. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, I think I like the size of the cards. I'm not a huge, like I've said before, large decks, but this deck is something that I'm able to shuffle, and I just love the colors in this. I just think the cards are beautiful, and the artwork was there's just something about it. I can't really explain it, but when she showed it, I'm like, how come I haven't heard of this deck? And of course, there's so many videos on this, but you know, it's just whether you run across them or not. It's got the classic Three of Swords, but I just love the artwork, the way, the colors in it, everything about this deck I just fell in love with. And we took a trip which isn't really a trip, it's like 20 minutes from my house, our local metaphysical shop, and I just saw this on the shelf, and I thought, oh, I need to get this deck, I really do. And I've said in the past, I love to support my local store. It's nice to go into a place where somebody knows you and knows all your quirks, and you get the hello and what's going on, and just the joking back and forth. Especially my husband has a very good rapport with the owner, and they're just hilarious when they talk. So yeah, I just thought, well, if I'm going to get this deck, what a better place to buy it than from him. And look at that. I just love the faces. I love the colors. This deck just really, and look at that beautiful lion. And I like, I'm not a, I think someone else mentioned, I can't give credit to who, just that, the whole forcing the mouth open of the lion to show strength. But I think gentle strength can be shown. I said, have much more meaning, just the head of the lion resting against her. But it's the colors are just beautiful. I just love it. I really do love this deck. And there's the classic Five of Pentacles. I know that's one of Simon's cards that he always looks at, and you can really see the snow in that. I just, fell in love with it. I'm probably showing cards that people have heard about and known about this deck for a long time, but to me, it was a surprise. And I have to thank Whispers of Three for sharing her my first tarot deck. And I think that's one of the things I love with hashtags and everything that gets started, because it does give people a chance to speak about their decks in a way that others, and introduce people to decks that they're not aware of. And this was not one that I was aware of. And so I love it. I'm so glad I was introduced to her from Maddie. And that's what I mean about our community, where the way we share and support each other and encourage people to even start a channel. I was inspired to start my channel from this community. Look at the Devil card. I mean, awesome. And so I'm so appreciative of that, because I probably wouldn't have taken the first step to go and do it. I mean, I don't know a lot about editing, so my videos are like, come on, probably very frustrating because a lot of background noise, or I think in my the second part to this video, my microphone wire was swinging around, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to fret about it. And I was just watching Becca this morning, actually, and she was talking about not feeling good enough sometimes, how you get that feeling that what do you've got to say, I'm not worthy. And even though, and like she said, like she doesn't want people to comment and say, oh, like we love you, because it's not about that. You do on a level know that, but there's still like the little goblin on your shoulder telling you, oh, give it up, or you're not good enough, or you don't have anything to say. And I mean, when Becca's just calling us all a bunch of slags, I mean, what other kind of content do you need? She makes me giggle. I'm not always able to catch her lives, but it's something I look forward to. I rewatch them. Look at that. I mean, come on. Look at the colors in that. I just love the pinks. And I can totally relate, but we inspire each other, and I appreciate that, and I value that. And coming in contact with a deck like this, I mean, I'm not, I can show all the cards because I just love it. Look at the cloaks. I mean, pink and purple. I mean, who can't love that? I mean, it's just screaming. They're just beautiful. And again, if it wasn't for the tarot community, I never would have, probably even ventured to get this deck, because I've seen it in the shops a lot of times, but it's not like you can see the images. And then by the time I get home, my memory's like a sieve, so it's not like I'm going to remember even to look it up on YouTube about a specific. And there's the Hermit. I love that one. Very old kind of, I don't know, biblical kind of looking Hermit, I think, which I don't mind that. I kind of like it. One of my favorite things when I was a kid was I had a colored Bible, and I just used to love to look at all the artwork. I'd flip through and look at the pages, and they were always so bright, colorful, and vibrant. I've talked about my past, and how I still keep a lot of my Catholic upbringing in my practice as a witch, and I have some representations on my altar. And so sometimes some of these images remind me of that. The coloration of them, I think, reminds me of like the children's Bible. Obviously, I'm not sure if that was what they were going for, but it's kind of a comforting. I've talked about it before. It can be like an old comfy blanket when images make you think of things that from your childhood that kind of made you happy, and taking the best part of a religion that was not for me. I was the square peg in the round hole. I love that death card too, with the cloak over half his face. And of course, my husband looked at it, got upset, thinking that better not be the White Rose of York or something. I was like, I don't know. As a Yorkshireman, I guess that wouldn't be a good thing. I have no idea. In the pool, is a very different representation of the pool, but I like it. There's something about this deck. It may not be for everybody, but when I saw it, I have a lot to thank Whispers of Three for doing that tag and putting yourself out there and taking that first, early leaps to start a channel and feel that's like the scariest part is when you're first starting, and then it really never goes away, as Becca was talking about that I watched this morning. But you just got to carry on and know deep down that really what's been helping me is to think that I hope that I can help people. If nobody watches my videos, oh well, because I'm not really doing this deep down. I'm not really doing this for anyone else except myself. It's a way to express myself, a way to put out there what I enjoy about tarot, and any other topic that I decide to do. It may just end up being a video log of me. And you know what, in the long run, if I don't get any more subscribers or nobody watches any of these, I'm okay with that. And I'm sure I'll have days where I'll, it's inevitable, we're human, you're going to get caught up in, oh, nobody watches me. But again, I'm a pretty happy person, and I'm pretty happy in what I do and in my life. So if someone can get something from this and they actually watch it and they enjoy it, that's great. And if not, I'm good. But yeah, Becca got me thinking about that today. The next deck that I'm going to review, and this one was it was on my list for a long time, so I didn't first see this from this YouTube person, but she did introduce me to the fact that I think it's a 25th anniversary edition was brought out, and that would be Tarot Alchemist, and it's the Arthurian Tarot. And anybody that knows Tarot Alchemist knows that this is her soul deck. And to me, I love the King Arthur theme. I think I've mentioned that before. I'm obviously, with my name, I'm into Celtic things, but just the whole story of Arthur and the mystique behind it, and Merlin, and I've heard different debates. It's inspired by Wales, not inspired by, is it Wales, is it English? And I'm not going to get into that whole thing because you're asking the wrong person. But as far as the imagery in the deck, I've always loved it. But when she did it, when I found the video, I can't even remember when I first saw it, but she said that the 25th edition had come out, and it was the one where they did the gold leaf in the corners, and it has the nice big book that came with it. This was one of my holiday presents this year, and very grateful to her because I'd seen her with her original deck, and that's what made it on, probably on my list. But I can't say I saw it first with her, but I knew this was her soul deck, and I've watched her videos, and I could totally understand why. These are actually, this interesting sidebar here, these are extra cards. When I got the deck and I opened them up, and I thought, wow, these cards are really thick, and then I realized that there were two of the same card stuck together in the printing of it, in the shipping. They were literally fused together, and I had to pry them apart. So I ended up with an extra, the Spiral Tower, Sword 5, the Spear Hollow, and the White Heart. And I thought, oh, these are my great bookmarks. So that's what I'm using it for. But I haven't really delved into this. This is one of my holiday presents to myself. So this is going to be one that I'm going to be working on it. I'm working with this deck, and I'm very excited to start working. Again, I know I'm way behind the times on a lot of these decks, but for me, it's because, like I said, they stay on my deck, my list for a while, and that is the only way that I pretty much guarantee with myself, unless the ones, like I've said, that instantly I see them and I instantly know I have to, oh my God, I have to have that. But that doesn't happen a lot, but obviously Jennifer has inspired me to do that. Jennifer Ball has inspired me, has shown me decks. I'm like, oh, I gotta have that. But when it does, I go out and get them. Other ones are on my list, and I debate whether they're for me or not. But she actually did a side, Tarot Alchemist did a side by side. I saw this deck when she revealed it, and I was like, okay, definitely that's probably the version I'm going to get. And then she did a side by side of it, and then I just really saw that, I just really loved it. I just love the images, and you could see the subtle differences between them. But I actually thought this version, they did a great job. You have to pardon the phone ringing in the background. I'm not stopping. Like I said, Mercury in retrograde and communication. I actually love this version of the sun, and like she mentioned, it's like a young adult for the sun instead of the creepy baby, and I really like this. I think the horses too, she mentioned this, are the way they're, the artwork of them and the way they're drawn is just really beautiful. But I love the colorings. I love, and like, I think too, it was in this, that one of her reviews, how she was saying that she liked the barren landscape, and it wasn't busy, and just like the Grail is there, and it's telling you it's the Four, and you have to get, you're looking at the picture. And I like how it's like you're looking through a window, and you're looking out the window at this scene, and what do you see, and what does it mean to you, and how is that representing like Sphere 2? I just love it. I absolutely love the way the whole idea was done. Looking out the window, and then just trying to decide. And I actually like the salmon with the moon card, because the whole way the salmon lives its life, like that struggle to get back upstream so life can continue the path. I love the fetus in the moon. Just a lot of these images, yeah, just loved it. So I owe a lot to Tarot Alchemist. I know she's taking a break at the moment, and I wish the best to her, and she gets what she needs for herself, because it is all about taking care of yourself, and your needs come first, and they should come first even before YouTube. This is very Celtic to me, the washer and the Ford. That's in Celtic mythology. And like I said, yeah. So I really love looking out on the window, out through a window at a scene, and then thinking about the card and its meaning. But yeah, so thank you very much to Tarot Alchemist for introducing me, not so much to the deck, but the way she saw the images and spoke of them, and the side by side with the original, and how this one held up to it. It really made me decide that this was the year I was going to get this deck into my collection, and I was going to start working with it. So I am very, 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 very grateful and excited to start my journey with that deck. I think this may be my last one as I'm looking around. Oh no, I got two more. Pay me no mind. The next deck is, sorry, I'm bumping the camera, was inspired by Arwen. Again, not a deck that I first heard from Arwen about, but this is a deck that she did, her comparison of this, the Wildwood. I don't think I have to make a huge introduction. Everybody knows about this deck. On my list for a long time, back and forth about whether I was going to, not whether I was going to get it necessarily, just kind of when, if I had other things ahead of it, or when was I going to be called to get this deck to start my journey. Because that's another thing, I like to get decks when I know that I'm feeling called to get them and to actually work with them. And that's all timing too. And I think I've said before, things get on my list, off my list, and I get things according to whether I feel it's the right time to get them. and I've thought about them lots of times. This is what the video is about. They're inspired by people. And this year it was, I saw the review that Arwen had done, the side-by-side. She had got a copy of the Greenwood Tarot, which came before this deck. This one is has aspects of the Greenwood in it, and as we all know, they are re-releasing the Greenwood, but a lot of it, as far as that, is sketchy. I'm a little behind on it, so it could be out today and I wouldn't even know. Although I am signed up to the Facebook page, I believe, about the Greenwood. I'm not sure if I'm going to get it. It was actually Arwen's side-by-side review that made me think that I actually like the images in the Wildwood better than the ones that were in the Greenwood, but then again, I don't know how the Greenwood's going to look now, if they're going to revamp it, or if it's just literally a reprinting of the original deck. I have no idea. And I know it's going to be released in a limited amount, and I don't know how much that's going to be. I'm not a one to pay exorbitant amounts on decks, but I have been known to in the past if I have a deck that I really love. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about the Greenwood, whether I'm going to end up getting it or not. But Arwen's review inspired me, the side-by-side, that I actually liked these images better than the Greenwood when she did it. So I was like, then it got me thinking, you know what, I think it's time for me to actually get this deck now and work with them. Feeling called, but I love that card. The hair. So yeah, I was her side by side because I really had not seen any close-up pictures of the Greenwood Tarot. Not many of them. There were some. I hadn't really watched a YouTube video. I don't know if there is even one out there just on the Greenwood. I'm sure there is, but that had never interested me. But when I saw it come up in her playlist that she had done the review of a side-by-side with the Wildwood, I thought, wow, that'll be interesting, because the Wildwood is something I can get. The Greenwood is out there and not readily available for right now. So I thought, I'll look at this. And so then this went on my list as my gifts to myself this past holiday season. And I'm very, very happy that I got it. And like I said, I don't have to go through all of the images. Everyone's pretty much familiar with it. The other decks that are on my list are the Plant Oracle, the Plant, I guess it's an Oracle, the Animal one also, the Animal Craft. So those are on my list. I'm not sure if I'm getting those or not. I have to, like I said, I have to sit with it. And I may get one, I may get the other. I'll have to wait and see how it goes. I haven't made my decision on those other two decks, but it is under consideration. Actually, those Plant and Oracle ones go with the Druidcraft. Pardon me. So see, I made a mistake. But I kind of lumped these, not lumped them in, but they're in the same genre. I consider the Druidcraft, the Wildwood, all kind of in the same realm as far as the imagery and the artwork. So it's the Druidcraft, and I did just get that. And Simon inspired me to get that one. I mentioned in the first video. And as far as getting the Plant Oracle and the Animal that goes with the Druidcraft, that's the one I'm on the fence about. This one, it's actually the Greenwood. Not to confuse people, because I can do that very easily, even with myself. So yeah, thanks to Arwen for her comparison, because that really made me decide that I love the images in the Wildwood, and it was time for me to get that deck. I have two decks left, and one is not so much, again, this was on my list, and I have to give a shout out to Kitten Waits and Tarot, because I actually won this in her giveaway, and it was a deck that has been on my list forever and a day, and that is the Hermetic Tarot. And I just am fascinated with magic and kind of the old, you know, the Golden Dawn and Crowley and Crowley, I think it's Crowley, and just the history of magic. And to me, the Hermetic Tarot reminds me, pulls me into the world of magic and esoteric meanings, and so it's always been on my list to work with it, but it's something that I have to put time with, and I have not yet put the time with it, but it was on my list. I won her giveaway and was able to choose one of her decks, and I thought, you know what, there's my deck that's been on my list forever, and this is not really for someone, this is not to me a deck that I can read with. To me, it's more, at the moment, I plan to study. It's like alchemy and all kind of esoteric things are represented in this deck. It's black and white. So to me, it's more like I'm going to use this to study and shut myself away with, and that has not happened yet. But that's why it was on my list for so long. And I thought, well, if I have to get one deck, I won her. I was so lucky to win her giveaway. And of her decks, I chose this one. So it means more to me because I absolutely love her. And so now when I have this deck, I think of her. And I got my little picture of her lovely cat, Loki. And yeah, so now I not only have something that I have wanted for a while to when I do finally make that move to study this deck, now I have a deck that means a lot because it belonged to someone here on YouTube that I just adore. And so yeah, shouts out to Hidden Thwaites and Tarot. And I will always treasure this. And I can't tell you when I'm going to start working on it, but when I do, I'll let people know. But that's my plan. The last but not least is a deck that I got inspired to get from Becca. And this again is more than one person has reviewed it. I think even Simon had reviewed it. But just seeing Becca work with this deck, she was pulling cards from it and reading. That was the push for me to actually get this deck. And it is the Angels and Ancestors. One of my cards here actually has a little, I don't know if you can see the painting came out on the side, the coloration's off on it. It got chipped or something in the process of coming to me. But I'm not a really big person on if it's perfect and not perfect, I gotta get rid of it or send it back or return it. And to me, it wasn't that big a deal. Even my Tarot Illuminati, when I got them, and actually heads up on that, because I guess people that get the ones from Amazon, I don't know if it's just Amazon though, but that's what I was hearing. Some of the cards were stuck together, and it's that golding that they put on the side of the Illuminati. This doesn't have anything on the sides of the cards, though. It's just kind of weird that one card got chipped on both sides. But my Tarot Illuminati, that actually did several cards, it peeled off to the side. The edging around the Illuminati is so dark that I just took a pen and colored them in, and it doesn't bother me. But just be aware that that gold gilding on that deck can peel, get stuck, and you can get the cards damaged. But like I said, I didn't return that one either. These cards, like I said, when Becca was using them and pulling with them, it was my inspiration to get this deck that I had on my list. I just love that one. Look at it just makes me think of fall. The book with it is great. And it's not like one of those little chunky books that come with it. So it's got the image of the card and a little write-up, and it's a Hay House deck. It's done really well. I think they do really well with their card stocks now. And I just love this deck. This is one that I'm starting to work with. I haven't exclusively worked with it yet. But my plan is to just look at that, just beautiful. I know, I think there's like a card in here that Becca had said, I think the one that she thought looked like Jesus, that she was going to take out. And that's the great thing about these Oracle decks too, that if you do find a card that you don't really sit well with, you can just take those out. Like there's a lot of angels in here. Like some people may not like the angel. But then you know, it is angels and ancestors, so you kind of know you're going to have some angels in it. But if there's something, look at that one, just, oh, I love that wise one. Look at the face. I love how they show like a diversity as far as age in this, and cultures. The cultures too are represented in this, and I love that as well. Look at that. That was a big inspiration to me to look at the star seeds, star ancestors. Look at that fox. Just beautiful. So there's a mix. There's animals, there's elemental, there's all kinds of very diverse deck. I think even Truth and Story did a review of this deck as well, but there's something in here for everyone, and I think that's what's very appealing to me about this deck. Look at that one too. Sage, Peacekeeper. I'm sure, like I said, this is not the first time people are seeing this deck, but I do have to give the shout out to Becca for being the one to inspire me to get this, and I look forward to really working with this. I think it's going to be one that I do in the springtime, but even the Egyptian, just love it. I like I said, it's very diverse. I think this is the one that, yeah, looks Jesus, and Becca said she might have to take that one out, and you know what? That's fine. That's one thing, like I said, I love about Oracle decks is you don't have to have them all in there. And, you know, if the image doesn't resonate with you, or there's one that you don't feel you can relate to in any way, or it makes you uncomfortable, then it doesn't need to be in there. But it's so diverse, this deck, and just beautiful. The artwork is gorgeous. And the artwork is by Lily Moses. It's a Kyle Graves. His author of the book. But just beautiful. So I'm going to end this series now. This is part 3. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I hope a lot of people, like I said in the beginning, decide to do this tag, because it would be interesting to see who inspires you and why. And what's your process of when you think about getting a deck or learning about decks? Do you rely on this community to do that? And is that one of the main reasons why you're here and watching, is to find out what you can, what decks are out there, and whether they're something that you're going to bring into your practice? And so, yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this series. Like I said, if you like it, give me a thumbs up. You don't have to, or subscribe if you feel like you want to. And everyone, I hope that this finds you all well, happy, healthy, get through the Mercury in retrograde best way you can, and many blessings. Bye.